and they engineer a soft landing. Whether they do 4 hikes, 7 hikes, 10 hikes, I don't think that's really going to materially slow inflation, unfortunately.
It looks like Bitcoin's winning.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bitcoiner's Guide, episode 5 weeks in already. And this is where we take you to the top of the Bitcoin rabbit hole, but it's up to you to put in the proof of work hours to really understand what Bitcoin is. This show is for the noobs, and it's for people who already know a lot about Bitcoin. If you want a refresher, we are your hosts, Big Sean Harris and Plan Marcus. Marcus, how many coins do you have?
Hey, Sean. Good morning for me. We'll have a good day for anyone listening. How many coins? Dude, it's just, you guys just got to make sure that your Bitcoin number goes up and you don't talk about how much coin you have. You never know what's going to happen in the future. So that's something we don't talk about. But dude, I'm loving these conversations with you. You know, we talk a lot offline as well. Off stream. So much going on. So look forward to it. Let's go.
Let's get it. Yep. Never tell anyone how many Bitcoin you have. Rule number 1. There's a lot of rule number 1s.
Lost it all in a boating accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, so I'm reaccumulating my stack.
Starting from 0 again. All right. Timestamp and price stamp. Right now it is 1:05 p.m. in the beautiful Canary Islands where I am. And let's see. The Bitcoin price today, I'm looking on my phone, is 47,000 and some change, up 6% in the last 24 hours. Wow. Bitcoin makes
that conference. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's that, is it that conference pump that's going on right now? Does the Miami conference have anything to do with it?
Who knows? There's a lot of factors, and I like to think that the conference has something to do with it, because I would love to go.
You know, previous years with the conference, it's often been similar, that you have a nice little run up towards the conference day, and like the day after, all the conference guys, you know, they have to recoup some of that travel money and that spending money, and we see a reversal. So I don't want to jinx the price, but you know, this is Bitcoin. It's volatile. Don't trade on this. You never want to sell your coin, of course. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be funny to watch.
Yeah, make sure to keep some dry powder for those bar hopping runs that you got going on in the conference coming up. So today we have a great show for you guys. I'm excited. Plan Marcus is very excited, and we're going to do the Bitcoiner's Guide tip of the week, talk about velocity of money, an economics term. Then we're going to get into the news, a lot of news going on, and then obviously we're going to get into some price, because the price is pumping, the corn is pumping. Let's talk about it. All right, let's start it off. I got the Bitcoiner's Guide tip of the week this week, and I've been feeling that it's time to talk about velocity of money. I recently saw, this came from a tweet that I recently saw from Lynn Alden, and her response. I'm not going to read it, but I wanted to kind of talk about velocity of money, what traditional or conventional economists think, and let's get into it. So, you know, there's a popular belief amongst many economists that to have a functional money, it has to be inflationary, or else smart people and the majority of the people would never spend it. And in economics, that's called velocity of money, right? So how fast or how often money is spent instead of saved. Now, you know, there's many economists that think that currency, that it has to be inflationary, right? That it loses value slowly over time, sometimes fast. But normally they think that it should be inflationary, that it loses value slowly over time. Because if the currency were deflationary, which means that it would gain value over time, then people would be more incentivized to quote unquote hoard the currency, and then society would break down, right? Their examples are something like, you know, no one would buy their kids clothes, of course, because tomorrow the currency could afford you more. no one would buy a home or shelter because tomorrow you could buy a bigger home, and no one would eat, right? Because tomorrow you could afford steak instead of the lentils that you could afford today. So this is what I wanted to get into. And before we get into it, I wanted to clear something up, because a lot of times Bitcoiners will say that Bitcoin is a deflationary currency. Well, currently it's actually a disinflationary currency. So what's the difference? The supply of Bitcoin is actually, it's still growing, because every 10 minutes more Bitcoin gets mined. But every 4 years, that amount that gets mined gets cut in half. That's what's called the halving. And so that's why it's currently a disinflationary currency. The supply continues to grow, but it grows at a slower rate. And the mining of Bitcoin, it will end in about 2140, and then all the Bitcoin will be mined, and then Bitcoin will truly be a deflationary money with that 21 million hard cap supply. Okay, so bringing it back to velocity of money, why is this important?
Sean, how many coins get lost every year?
I'm seeing, even on Twitter, I think I saw the other day, someone lost about 33 million sats, and that was just yesterday. So, and those sats, we look at those as donations to the network, because if those are lost, no one can ever get them, and that just means your corn is worth more.
Yeah, obviously, nobody really knows how much coins are exactly lost. It's probably not more than are being mined daily. So I definitely say it's still disinflationary, but it's still a factor to take account of. Don't lose your coin. At the same time, I've gifted some sats to newbies, to try and orange pill them. It's never a big amount, because a lot of them often, they lose their first bit of satoshis that I send them.
Yes, corn gifted many times is corn lost.
Right.
But at least if you can give it to someone, on a wallet that's on their phone, like a wallet of Satoshi, then at least they can get a backup to their email or something. And then if they lose it or they delete the app accidentally, they can still get it back. But if you give someone some cold storage corn, that might get lost pretty quickly.
Right. So when you're saying that people are hoarding Bitcoin or hoarding money, because you were talking about the velocity of money, does that mean that the velocity of money goes down? Like velocity is like the speed at which money transacts. So if we're hoarding, we got a low velocity of money.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this is kind of the point that I was making, was that currently, that in the fiat inflationary world, everyone is incentivized to spend and consume instead of being a prudent saver. Why? Because you subconsciously know price is going up and up and up, but you don't look at it like, well, actually the value of my currency is going down and down and down. And in a deflationary world, things get cheaper and cheaper, because your money is actually getting valued more and more. And so currently, that's why we see that, I just looked up this stat, that 69% of American adults have less than $1,000 in savings. So what does an inflationary currency incentivize? It incentivizes spending, consuming, debt, credit, those type of things. What a deflationary currency, what that incentivizes is prudence, saving, thinking about the future, making your time preference lower. You're not so worried about today, tomorrow, but you're more focused on a low time preference. Now the question is, would you not eat? Would you starve yourself to death because you knew that my money's gonna be worth more in the future? I think that's a little extreme. And the reason why I say that is, look, there's things right now, like you could put your money in stocks. You could put all the money you make in stocks and know I'm going to get more money, or put it all in gold currently, it's a store of value, or in real estate, which is a store of value, or a better store of value than the dollar, because we know the dollar will continue to go down and get debased. But there's no one that goes, I'm going to put 100% of my money into an investment and never spend it because I know I'm going to get more money. It's going to make me more in the future. Obviously, even the most prudent and the biggest savers, they still spend their money and buy food, and they buy necessary things. So I think what Bitcoin provides for in the future is it makes it that a lot of people aren't just consuming random things. They're not buying things they don't need. They're not we're not a gluttonous people. And I also think it makes it makes you have to level up your skills. So I think that's also super important, is thinking about, if I am going to get paid in Bitcoin, if someone's going to give me Bitcoin, that means that they really value what I do. So I have to have higher skills. I have to have, a better skill set, and have to continually learn and grow. And I think that's beautiful because it makes humanity better. I think, Bitcoin is a bet on humanity, and that humans will grow, and that they will level up, and that they'll continue to learn and grow their skills and become better at what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, I find this to be a really complicated matter. And in all honesty, I have no idea how traditional economists view the philosophy of money, how that would impact traditional metrics in finance and in economics. So that's the philosophy of money. What I do know is that, obviously, I believe Bitcoin is going to go up in value tremendously. It's way underpriced now. And the philosophy of money to me is very complicated. I don't know how that ties into traditional economics and why it is important to look at the philosophy of money besides the hoarding part. And I don't know if hoarding is bad. I mean, we've had like inflationary money for such a long time right now, right? We can see the impact of that. And I think it's a big question mark still to see if, what will the incentives look like, and how will people actually respond to a true hard money. In my case, I do believe Bitcoin is going to go way up. I always tell people my Bitcoin is already worth $1 million. You're not going to get it for less than $1 million. Nope. So I'm hoarding it. Right. And I think when I have to buy a new pair of shoes and it's like $100 or whatever, I'm thinking, oh my God, am I really gonna spend like $10,000 on a pair of shoes? So you start being really stingy and scrutinize all your buys and your purchases. So I definitely see there's an impact there. People will probably opt for higher quality products that will last the time. You don't look for like a cheap buy that you're probably going to throw away in a couple of months. Mm-hmm. So probably incentivize more durable goods and services.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the word that economists they use hoarding on purpose because in their mind
it's like a negative association with it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And
as if it's a bad thing. Like,
we just say it's saving. You're not like, imagine going to Warren Buffett and saying, dude, you're just hoarding all this money. He's like, I'm saving and I'm investing my money. Like, call it what you want, but I have billions of dollars. So I think that's the difference is, you can be a hoarder of money or you can be a saver, but I would rather be a hoarder of money than someone who's stuck in a ton of debt. And that's what we're incentivized to do currently. So Bitcoin helps flip the way that we think about money, because now our money is growing in value instead of losing value. And so instead of making frivolous buys and subconsciously buying these things and consuming, now we're subconsciously saving our money. And I think that's also beautiful, because instead of money being credit, now money, it's actually something that it's something that I can debit out of out of my account. And I think that's
for me, it's also really just really important that it's now, for the first time in history, truly a fixed amount, so it becomes a really good measure of how economies are growing, how wealth is growing, how things are going on in the economy. Because if you constantly have like this metric and we say we're measuring things in dollars, but we know that through time the dollar has been inflated over and over again, so we need to do like all kind of weird math to adjust for inflation. And you know, what is it? You hear people comparing things like, yeah, my land, you know, I bought it in 1970 and it went up this much. Yeah, what does that even say anymore? Because what was the purchasing power back in the 1970 of a dollar? You know, so we're looking, we're making ourselves rich by making these kind of comparisons, while in all reality, maybe the purchasing power actually went down. Now that we have a fixed amount in time, we truly have a good measure in through time. And yeah, that it doesn't really change incentives. We'll see. I think it's
yeah, and I think
what also comes to mind, you know, is the Gresham's law. Sean, I know you know more about that than I do, but I believe it's something that says that good money pushes out the bad money. I'm not sure if I'm saying this correct, but what it basically comes down to is people will start to, you know, they want to spend their Bitcoin the last, right? So you're gonna be like, do I have any other currency left that I could spend first? Because I don't want to spend my Bitcoin.
Exactly.
I think we'll see that going on. Maybe people will want to like trade their car before they sell their Bitcoin.
You know, and that just brings up a thought, right? Like you have a lot of people that are buying Bitcoin, and as more people continue to buy Bitcoin, just like what you're saying, as I buy Bitcoin, what I'm doing is I'm swapping out my dollars and putting that into Bitcoin. And so it's totally true that the good money, I'm growing my good money, and I'm constantly pushing out the fiat. I'm constantly pushing that away. And as more people do that, and as Bitcoin continues to get accepted in more places, which it's growing rapidly. I mean, since we got into Bitcoin, think about, and you know, only over a few years, how much more Bitcoin is accepted in places, how fast the Lightning Network has developed to make instant payments a breeze. And so all these things are happening so fast. And every day there's a new person that's getting orange pilled, that's going down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. And so as those things happen, Bitcoin will be more accepted in more places, and we'll have a Bitcoin circular economy where we won't have to have those on and off ramps, which I would love to talk about that in the future. Yeah, I don't know if you had some more thoughts on what we were saying.
Yeah, I've one final thought on the philosophy of money, because it really reminds me of high school when I was like, you know, you had economics class, and next to economics, of course, you also had math class, and do you call it science? You know, I'm Dutch, so I'm sorry sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and in science, it's beautiful because you have like these formulas, you know, that you can count on, that you can do calculations with, that actually work, right? We can send like a rocket to like different planets, you know, using, you know, just math, right? You know, like we can work with actual stuff that works. In economics, they try to make these kind of formulas as well. Well, you're trying to put some kind of law on human behavior, which obviously nobody has been able to figure out yet. And that's what the velocity of money reminds me of these economics guys trying to turn economics into some kind of a hard science that you do like hard calculations with, which is complete BS to me. So I've never really worried too much about the whole philosophy of money thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's not mathematics that last for decades or centuries. You know, it's mathematics that last in economics. Those formulas last for, you know, as long as you can have a money printer, or as long as things don't turn south. And then you know, if the market goes south, okay, we got to figure out a new strategy.
Obviously, if they knew that how those formulas worked, we wouldn't be having this high inflation right now, right? So
exactly, that is a key indicator, right? Because every economist and every every person in, the Treasury, the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, the Jay Powell, who's the chairman of the Fed, they all, oh, we didn't see this inflation coming. Well, if you didn't see this inflation coming, and normal Bitcoiners, everyday Bitcoiners like you and me, did see this inflation coming, what does that tell you? Maybe that the economics, the mathematics of the economics are off, and those things need to be adjusted.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into the news today. The news for this week. The first thing that comes to my mind is there was an article by CNBC, and the title of the article is Exxon is mining Bitcoin in North Dakota as part of its plan to slash emissions. And I wanted to take an excerpt out of this, and it basically just says, for over a year, Exxon has been working with Crusoe Energy Systems, a company based in Denver. Crusoe's technology helps oil companies turn wasted energy or flare gas into a useful resource. I really like this. I think this is what Bitcoiners have been talking about for years, especially guys like Denver Bitcoin, Adam O, and even Marty Bent, and Greg Foss, right? That Bitcoin is, once big energy understands the benefits of Bitcoin mining on stranded or flare gas, then energy will soon be priced in Bitcoin. Energy will be priced in sats, and it seems like this is where we're heading. And all of the environmentalists used to, have been saying that Bitcoin's bad for the environment, but the title, even in the title, it says that they're using Bitcoin mining to slash emissions. And I think it's another thing that flips people's minds, and they go, well, how is Bitcoin mining slashing emissions? I thought it was more energy. I thought it was making things worse for the environment. And, you got the Bitcoiners like us just saying, we've been telling you guys this for years. It's another thing that Bitcoin fixes and provides stability to the energy grid.
Yeah, this was huge news as well. I mean, companies like ExxonMobil, they have like turnovers that are like bigger than the GDPs of entire countries. So these kind of players matter. They when this news about these type of players doing this it wakes up a lot of other players around the world, makes them look at it like, whoa, what's going on there? As you mentioned, like a lot of the Bitcoiners have been talking about this for a long time. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this stuff moving forward. You mentioned some great Bitcoiners there. There's a more recent, I believe his name is Troy Cross. That's a really interesting guy to listen to as well. Yeah, and it's one of those signposts again. It's like Bitcoiners. I love to see it always.
Yes.
They talk about stuff. They think about what will this mean for the future. That probably will mean that energy will be priced in Bitcoin ultimately. Obviously, that's not the case yet, but I don't think we're too far off from actually seeing those first transactions coming up in the future. And you can, with Bitcoin adoption, you can just constantly see these clear signposts that are check marks for me. Like, all right, we're still on the right path. We're still seeing like these clear signs of how Bitcoin is slowly integrating itself into the world and eating everything that has value.
Yeah,
I'll just leave it there.
And I love to hear those birds in the background, because it's the song of the birds right now. We got these birds chirping. We have Exxon's mining Bitcoin, which means Peter Schiff now has exposure to Bitcoin in his portfolio. It's these things are wonderful to hear. And the whole thing about Bitcoin mining, and Brandon Quittem, we've talked about this before. He said Bitcoin mining is everything you don't know about Bitcoin combined with everything that you don't know about energy. And so it really is another rabbit hole in itself. But once you start,
so what was the number again, Sean? Like how much percent of, or like on average, you know, from energy producers, there's always, I believe it was like something like 30 to 60% of energy produced is just lost or wasted. So think about if you can sell 30 to 60% of the energy that you're losing and can now convert it to Bitcoin. Think about how huge of the incentives, what type of monetary value that has for companies like ExxonMobil or Shell or the bigger oil companies, and even other parties. So the incentives are going to be massive to to not kill this thing. So worrying about government trying to shut down or regulating it or banning it, there's going to be, you know, everybody is going to be incentivized or has some, I'm sorry, I'm always looking for the English word, will have some kind of exposure to Bitcoin in some way. And they will go to Congress and they will try to convince senators and the political representatives to not ban it, but to look at why they think they should keep it going. And it's yeah, to me it's so obvious, but you know, people that say Bitcoin is going to get banned, they don't realize how far it's already reached into society, how many people are exposed to this in a multitude of ways. So I'm completely not worried about it. But then again, I'm like a total Bitcoin bull, so
Yeah.
do your own research.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much entrenchment of Bitcoin owners in government and people like Exxon who have to be lobbying in government. There's so much entrenchment of Bitcoin owners, people who own Bitcoin, who mine Bitcoin, that the way it looks like is that not only is United States and the Western world not going to ban Bitcoin, but that we will accept and look to innovate on Bitcoin. And imagine, you know, a miner like an Exxon, and not only are they just mining Bitcoin off stranded and flared gas, imagine what happens when they really realize that they can save in Bitcoin instead of in dollars. And when we talked about this earlier in the velocity of money, when you have these big companies like this that are recognizing what Bitcoin truly is, and they start to move their balance sheets to Bitcoin and move away from the dollar, because the dollar is guaranteed to go down due to inflation, due to money printing. We're guaranteed that your dollar will get debased, right? Does Bitcoin go up? Does it go down? No one knows in the short term. In the long term, it's had a history of continually going up at about 171% per year on average. So you can look at those numbers, and that's what's interesting to me, is because now these big energy people are going to say, we don't want your dollars, we want Bitcoin for energy. And when big energy says this, countries start to say it, we're going to see things start to move very fast. And that's when you go from the slowly then suddenly.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies for any background noises. I'm here in a resort, and there's people slowly starting to wake up now. So I'll mute if it's too bad.
No, it's good. So in other news, we have Terra, which is somewhat of a stable coin. They ended up buying $125 million of Bitcoin last week. And it seems like they're looking to use Bitcoin to back their coin. And it's just another, I didn't even know that they had that much money to buy Bitcoin, first of all. But just another entity buying a lot of Bitcoin. Marcus, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the altcoiners and stablecoin, people looking to buy Bitcoin? Well, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, not too many thoughts. Obviously, you know, any big buy into Bitcoin always is a good idea. It seems to me that altcoiners, shitcoiners, they seem to want to take your Bitcoin or your money to eventually buy Bitcoin for themselves. So beware, don't fall for this shitcoin narrative. To be completely honest, I'm not fully familiar what it is exactly that Terra Luna does or has done, or how they got their money. I know some Bitcoiners were asking questions about it. I haven't been able to dig into it this week, but my main thought is, you have this successful project, you're making a bunch of money. What do you want to do? You want to buy Bitcoin. So think about that. Why? I don't know what they're doing, but they are buying Bitcoin. So if you're investing in whatever it is they're offering, maybe you want to buy some Bitcoin instead, instead of, sending your money to them so that they can buy the Bitcoin from you.
Yeah. I mean, it even reminds me of when Saylor was buying Bitcoin, which he still is doing. And, and I think someone asked him about buying his stock, and he was like, you might as well just buy Bitcoin. Like if you're just a regular person and you have the chance to buy my stock or buy Bitcoin, you might as well just buy Bitcoin, right? But for those who can't buy Bitcoin, that's when it's like, okay, buy a stock, buy those convertible bonds that he did. And so it's the same thing. Everyone,
sorry, you're right. Go ahead.
Everyone wants your Bitcoin. Everyone wants Bitcoin. They want your Bitcoin. They want you to, at least say there was honest with people. A lot of people would tell you, oh, here's Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin. Buy my altcoin, buy my mining stock. And it's like, no, I'm going to buy the thing that you're buying because everyone wants Bitcoin. It is the most precious thing out there. It is the most scarce thing. If I buy your stock, if I buy your altcoin, you can make more, you can dilute the supply of your stock. And that's what can't happen in Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate because this whole shitcoin stuff is like, not only is it like in a sense slowing Bitcoin down, or but a lot of new people come in and they'll be like, oh man, and the shitcoiners love to say this. It's like, yeah, Bitcoin is already like at $1 trillion, to double it, you need so much money, it's never gonna happen, and it's slow, and you want to have like life-changing gains, I'm gonna have to be in some kind of coin that does a 50x or like 1,000x, right? Because I need to do the hustle. But what you're really doing is you're I completely understand you want to make like the bigger gains, but you're up against other people that are trying to take your money. You don't have some special information. You're not gonna outsmart the guys. And what are you investing to? Now there's this Luna guy switching all his money back into Bitcoin, Luna price. In 2017, we've been through this. 2018, all these projects, they're just going down to zero. All the money is flowing out. Eventually it's going into Bitcoin, but that's your money is staying in the shitcoin, and you're enriching these scammers that are buying a lot more Bitcoin. So, everybody loves to believe in dreams, that you can buy some shitcoin that's going to go 1,000x and you're going to be like this super smart guy that just got life-changing gain. No, Bitcoin is where it's at, where it's happening. That's your sure play. It's the best and the fastest horse out there. Don't invest in shitcoin. I think the message is clear. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And look, it's a smart plan from Terra, right? If you have something that people are buying, invest your money in Bitcoin. I think that's what we all do. Work, put the excess in Bitcoin. Work more, put the excess in Bitcoin. Work, save in Bitcoin. And that's the formula for success. In the short term, price goes up, it goes down. In the long term, you win. And that is the thing. Like, it's not about getting rich quick. It's about not getting slow poorly and getting rich for sure over the long term. That's how I look at it. Okay. So with the last bit of the show, last week we skipped price. This week, price has been pumping. So let's talk a little bit about what we got. We have prices up to 47,000 and some change right now. It pumped on a Saturday and Sunday over the weekend, and maybe came from that Terra buy for 125. Maybe it came from the Exxon mining news. Maybe it came from, we got the conference coming up. There's a lot of things, and I just love to see it because there's been a lot of bears out there. Dr. Bear, Dr. Jeff Ross has been saying oh, I could see a black swan happening like in March of 2020, and price gets cut in half, and we go down to $20,000, and then we start pumping from there. So, you know, who knows? Maybe he's right. What I'm seeing is a lot of good news for Bitcoin, a lot of good things happening, and more and more people are getting orange pilled and are understanding that the traditional finance system sucks and that there's a better option.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's nothing, one specific thing we can point to. I mean, Bitcoin didn't make the massive parabolic run at the end of 21 as a lot of us expected it would do. Obviously, we didn't hit the 100K. Instead, we topped out at 69. We already had like a 50% correction from that 69. So we were on a very low end all this time. So people calling for another 50% reduction. I get it. We saw it happen, but not, we didn't, before that, we had a way bigger rise. So to expect another in total from the all-time high, 80% drop again during this cycle, while we didn't have those massive, like 20x increases in this cycle, I thought was a little bit too bearish. Dr. Jeff Ross, I believe his name is. Yeah, I like listening to him. The guy is a real Bitcoin bull long term, but he's always mentioning that he's trying to beat the market. He thinks there is some alpha to be found to be able to trade it and get an even better performance, than the market. I think he's foolish in that. I think he's doing damage to the space as well, because there's so many people listening to him. And when he's ranting about there's going to be another 50% drop, people are going to take off more corn off get some more dry powder, waiting for that dump. And what do you see? We're up like, I don't know how many percent now. People will get scared and they dump back their dry powder in because they feel like they're being left behind. And then maybe next week it'll dump again a little bit and they lose money. So he's just...
Bears are
and he says it, and then like the value of what he's saying is just like zero to the normal listeners, because he'll end the podcast with like, don't listen to me because I use this proprietary metric and model, and when things change tomorrow, my whole model flips. So basically, my whole information is useless. Like I've been ranting about how I trade and how I see the market moving in a couple of weeks, but it can change tomorrow. So it's just a complete waste of time. People will always love to have, people want to know what the price is going to do tomorrow for obvious reason. Nobody knows what the price is going to do tomorrow. And Dr. Jeff is going to get wrecked. I love to see it. He's going to start defending his model. He's going to start telling people that they're so salty and that, like it's not for them. No, dude, just shut up about your trading strategy. You're not beating the market. Neither are we. That's why we hodl, and we definitely don't dream of selling Bitcoin at 40K in 2022. Hold on to your Bitcoin. It's the most precious thing you have. Try to accumulate more. Be very, very, very careful about protecting your Bitcoin. It's the most valuable thing you're holding right now. That's all I can say.
Look, you have these chartists out there like Dr. Jeff, like Willy Woo. Willy Woo capitulated. He gave up. Dr. Jeff, like, I don't think he's doing damage to the space really because, dude, you can say whatever you want to say. Maybe people are taking off corn. Maybe they're shorting it. Listen to the people who aren't the traders. That's what I would say. If you're not a trader, if you've never been a trader, the traders get wrecked. So if you're not a trader, well, why would you listen to the trader about trading? Why not just buy and stack and buy and stack? That's what we do. That's what we've been doing, and it works. And
you're absolutely right, Sean. You're absolutely right. It's just
don't sell the
triggers
corn.
me. It triggers me. Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin doesn't react on what he does or says. It doesn't matter. But like you see people responding and listening to him. I'm like, how can you not see that this is like pure guesswork? And
there's always going to be,
and like, no, I mean, he's been saying for how long now that he's like super bearish, and look what the price is just completely, it's been going up for like 8 days straight now.
Yeah, it's been going up for a while, and he was bearish down in like the low 30s, and now we're at 47K. So I mean,
he's not showing us his daily buys and sells, so he can tell us, yeah, no, but I knew it was, my model flipped, so I went bullish, and I'm still making money. That's why it's not for you, and trust me, I'm making money. We don't know if he's making money. He's probably losing money like crazy, but people will listen to him anyway.
yeah,
Love you, Dr. Jeff.
know.
I love you in space.
We really don't know what he's doing, right? Like, Dr. Jeff aside, right? Just for anyone trying to look at the charts and guess what's it going to do on a random Monday or Tuesday in March or April, it's like, dude, you have no idea what Bitcoin's going to do. Even the best have zero clue, and they can make up all these models. Plan B made his model, then he made a second model, then he made a third model, and he's still trying to say how his models, haven't failed and all this stuff. Just buy and stack. Don't trade the corn. Don't short the corn. Don't sell the corn. I find it hard personally to see Bitcoin going down to 20K or even a 50% drop from where we're at, simply because if that's going on, it also means probably something's going on in the markets, in the broader markets, the macro markets like stocks and bonds. And if there's an event like in March of 2020, when COVID hit, maybe a crazier war that's going on right now, I would venture to think what would happen is the money printer would turn on and would start burning like crazy, and all that money would get flooded into the markets. There might be an initial drop, 5, 10, 15%. Then the Fed comes in, backstops everything with the money printer, and a lot of that money makes its way to Bitcoin, because people are seeing, if people see the money printers turned on, the money printers running hot, they know inflation is going to run hot. And so they're looking for something with a store value. And Bitcoin has that narrative now of being the quote unquote digital gold. And that's where money's going to make its way. So I find it extremely hard to see Bitcoin going down to 20K or even getting cut in half right now. Could it happen? For sure. Like it definitely could happen. But that's kind of my thoughts around the whole thing of why I find it very hard for that to happen.
A lot of traders also look at like these cycles, right? Like where you have like this blow off top, and then you have like this denial phase, and then ultimately you go into this ultimate capitulation phase. And I also believe we haven't seen a full capitulation phase if these cycles are still intact or whatever. So possibly, yeah, we can still see like a capitulation phase, whatever that means. I don't know how far the price would have to drop to see full capitulation. I still do see like a lot of fraud in the shit coins. They haven't been completely murdered like last cycle. So possibly, yeah, there might be. But am I gonna like try and trade on it? Hell no. I mean, earlier in the show we talked about how we've been saying that energy will be priced in Bitcoin, and we're going to see like energy producers start taking advantages of Bitcoin, and it came true. Bitcoiners have been saying for forever that we're going to see nation state adoption. We've actually seen some nation state adoption. We're seeing a lot of activity on nation state adoption. Senators wanting to do this. We have Russia saying things on Twitter, and his senators are saying things about pricing things in Bitcoin. It's a very unstable world out there, and people are really scrambling for hard assets, and everybody has Bitcoin on their radar. So are you going to take the risk? Are you going to put a bet that we're going to see a capitulation phase? Well, maybe tomorrow Russia decides to put 10% of its treasury into Bitcoin, or maybe the US decides to do it, or some other country decides to do it, and we run up to 200K in a couple of weeks. I mean, why would you, for a little extra gain, you're taking on a huge risk? Don't do it. It's my advice.
And look, in the capitulation phase, for anyone who's wondering what that is, that's like when Bitcoin drops 50% and then it just boom bottoms out and goes down 70, 80%. That's kind of what Marcus is referring to, which has happened. It happened in 2018 after the 2017 run up. It happened in after the 2013 run up in 2014, those type of things. I look at it like we never had the massive parabolic run up. We had a good solid run up, but it never went fully parabolic. And because it never went fully parabolic, that's why I find it hard to have that drop of 80%. Right. We had the drop of 50%, which is fine. But that's why I'm just like, do I see a drop down to like 70% drop from 70K to 20K? I don't really find that. I don't really see that happening. And again, dude, anything could happen. But I find that a very extremely low probability to happen, just because there wasn't a huge run up and Bitcoin did its thing, but it didn't like 20x, it 5x or 6x. So I think that's
and don't forget, this is like the third cycle, and there's the people that are now aware of Bitcoin and its price movements and its expected price movement. That group of people that are aware of this is so much larger right now. It's not only individuals, it's companies, it's large wealthy players. If the Bitcoin price drops below 30 again, there's going to be like this massive demand increase. So I wouldn't put my money on it. I honestly, I'd I'd bet on we'll never see any 20 number Bitcoin, so sub 30K Bitcoin again, ever. Honestly, I don't think we're going to go below 40. We're not going to go below 40. Model not, hold my beer.
The floor is set. And who knows? All right. Well, that wraps up for today's show. Again, thanks everybody for listening. We have Bob Burnett coming on the Meme Factory this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That'll be live on our YouTube channel, same channel you're on right now if you're listening to YouTube. He's the chairman and CEO at Barefoot Mining. Please hop in. It's going to be a great show with him. And remember, what you see here, what you hear here, when you leave here, don't just let it stay here. Please share. If you learned something today or found this information helpful and or entertaining, please help us out. Like and subscribe. Leave a review. Leave a comment.
The notifications on.
Yep. Last week, our comments on YouTube got messed up. We're going to have it figured out. We screwed that up. That's our fault. I think there's a little technical difficulty this week. We'll make sure that the comments are working so you can comment in there and let us know. All right. Thanks again. As for Bitcoiner's Guide, episode 5 from Plan Marcus and Big Sean, we're over and out. Peace.
See ya.